People say it is human nature to war, to conquer, and to dominate. They say it is the way of nature itself, but this is not nature in totality. It is simply an aspect of it. Yes, there are hierarchies in nature, yet there is also an equilibrium, balance. So to say that it is human nature to dominate one another is a vague generalization of social development. What we deem to be human nature is simply human behavior within specific settings, accumulated over a long period of time. Behavior is shaped by social environments, social constructs, and societal paradigms, for it is in the best interest of the human to follow the parameters of his or her culture in order to reproduce and survive. Based off of this understanding alone, we are able to make sense of people's actions, which enables us to understand that all human behavior is lawful.
So when I talk about thinking and reasoning and putting things together, we're talking about the forces that shape human behavior. I believe that all human behavior is lawful. The reactions and values that all people have are perfectly lawful to the environment that they come from. So every human being is perfectly well adjusted from where they are coming from their background and experience.
Everyone who believes that they are doing the right thing are in fact doing the right thing from where they are coming from. Everyone is born into a society that programs their mind with its social constructs, religion, and culture. We are victims of culture, and the more people that understand this, the more people that will be able to bring humanity into a new direction. We can dissolve war, racism, bigotry, prejudice, and competition by simply applying these understandings to our daily affairs, especially foreign affairs. Part 1.
We're victims of culture. We look at the world with our background. We have no other way of doing it. Psychology is kind of a rudimentary form today, an attempt to grasp at the factors that shape human behavior, the factors that are responsible for the way we look at ourselves, other people, and the way we behave, or, if you wish, misbehave. I don't believe that any human being misbehaves. They use whatever tools they know of, whatever tools they're familiar with.
No matter where you are born in the world, you are a victim of your culture. You reflect the social paradigm you were brought up in. If this paradigm is sustained for long periods of time, the behavioral footprint will remain, which, again, is why people think that certain actions equate to human behavior. Because it appears that people have always been competitive in recorded history, which again is recorded by those who are already entrenched in the behavioral constructs, fortifying the illusion that is human nature. This sheds a light on human actions that we demonize, such as theft.
The question then is, what kind of world do we want? How is it that we want our social system to operate? What makes criminal behavior? If you're brought up in a distorted environment, which we all live in today, any judge that raps the gavel and says 30 years is an ignoramus because he has no idea of the factors that shape human behavior.
I've had many arguments with people who believed that black people were inherently violent. Conveniently, these same people never delved into the perspective of black history, the perspective that showcases that these people were forced into impoverished conditions after hundreds of years of colonialism, 400 plus years of slavery, and many more years of social discrimination, which led to the communities of today. In other words, these people who take things at face value do not consider the factors that shaped communities. As said in the previous episode, human beings are shaped by residential forces, our environment, our household, our society and culture. So when being raised in a distorted environment, you produce distorted generations of human beings who form distorted communities. When looking at the actions recorded in history, as well as the resulting after effects of the actions in history, it is my personal opinion that there was an organized effort to destroy Africa. But that's for a whole nother series. We are all raised in distorted environments. Every country is the product of conflict and competition. Despite the capability to transcend all divisions and segregations, we continue to live in the old model, resulting in distorted value systems, which results in the destruction of the earth as well as the wars between people. Part 2. value systems.
If we wish to understand the factors that generate our value system, that generate the way we look at the world, we have to go back in time and study these things.
If one takes the time to study whatever information is available on the historical development of human beings, you will find that humans get stuck in rigid patterns of behavior. For example, the early Homo sapiens were using the same stone tools after 1,000,000 years, before finally transitioning to a different set of tools. We don't see any change in human behavior until again, after a very long time. We developed value systems that each social group partook in, and instilled those value systems into each passing generation, fortifying them into the customs and traditions leading to culture and religions. The archaeological evidence shows that it takes a long time for humans to shift paradigms. This is why humans of today cannot visualize a resource-based economy, for instance, a world without money. It is a distorted value system that is entrenched within our society, conscrewing their perspective on the nature of reality.
That you're indoctrinated to a set of values that are unreal.
The term Indian giver derives from the misinterpretation of people's actions, a clash of value systems. On the one hand, you have a value system that renders the Earth's resources in monetary value. On the other hand, you have a value system that views all the Earth as a living system, the common heritage of man, one that should not be subjected to overconsumption.
I lived in the South Pacific Islands for a while, and the natives gave me bananas and coconuts. They were very generous. And they said, "Jacque, what you want?" And I said, "Well, I would like an outrigger canoe." And they built one for me. A few days after they brought it to my hut, I heard some rustling outside, and they were all carrying the canoe away. I said, "What's going on?" "You no use." It's a different value system.
This value system encourages the use of what exactly needs to be used, nothing more, nothing less. From the perspectives of many Aboriginal people, the actions committed against the Earth are an atrocity. These direct wounds inflicted on the Earth will eventually lead to catastrophe that will destroy our civilization, which is why this new perspective is more important now than ever. The reason being is that most people fall back on the "it's all human nature" argument, which negates any talk of a societal paradigm shift. But, as you will see, there is no such thing as human nature. Part 3. Human nature versus human behavior.
How do I account for what?
Human nature.
Human nature. Human nature is the way people have found other people to behave over many long years. They appear to manifest greed, jealousy, envy. It is not human nature. It's human behavior that's shaped by culture. So there is really no human nature. There is varying degrees of human behavior.
What Jacque is pointing out is that we base our assumption of human nature on the events of recorded history. Yet, the recorded history we reference was developed when humanity was already entrenched in these value systems. These were already established after thousands of years of social development within specific areas. You'll find that warfaring societies develop in regions with restricted access to life's necessities, while peaceful societies develop in regions with an abundance of resources: food, water, medicine, shelter. The culture is shaped by its environment, and thus forms social constructs based off of that culture, and thus brings out specific traits of human behavior, an aspect of ourselves stimulated by the experiences in society. It is strange to view humanity this way, because it is a new way of viewing ourselves. However, it is all completely logical. This understanding of why humans behave the way they do will help mend the divided cultures of the world. Quite literally, everyone wants to support their immediate social groups, which are themselves and their family. Everyone can relate on that basis alone. No matter how different we may seem, we all experience the same social struggle, the same social dynamics. See, the reason why people war against one another is due to land and resources. But all that is unnecessary if people acknowledge the fact that we create these problems due to our clinging onto old value systems, further imprinting them onto our children, and thus carrying down distorted views that mentally divide the people and compartmentalize life.
You're talking about parasitism. dominance, morality, okay, war, predation. These would be subject to de-emphasis. These would be subject to de-evolution. The new evolutionary paradigm would give us the human traits of truth, of loyalty, of justice, of freedom. These would be the manifestations of the new evolution.
By transcending our value systems, we will make way for a united species, which in turn will make way for a world that is a true reflection of heaven on earth.